What is up, YouTube? I'm Galadite74 here, bringing you our Week 8 battle of the IBA. This week, we are taking on a very well-known trainer in the Pokemon Draft League community. We are taking on Aaron2420. He records most of my battles, so, this is very nice guy of him to do it. He's one of the 3 people in charge of the IBA, so that's pretty good to know. He is mostly known for his team, the Calgary Flamethrowers, among most leagues, but in this league, he is the Minnesota Miniors, so shout out to that. This week is going up a week later because he decided to push all battles back a week because his PC wasn't working, and he records a lot for most of the people in the league. Again, very nice dude, so make sure to go check him out in the description below, as well as all the other coaches. I would like to shout out Nick for joining my team as always. Man's an absolute legend. And to Davion, who actually recorded this battle this week instead of Aaron because of the PC again. But yeah, he is 6-1, so he has the best record in the league. While we are nice and 5-2, we're doing really good. We did lose last week to really bad performance by me. We're hoping to bounce back in that. But I'm gonna go over the team first and his team, and we're getting to the actual battle. So his team is got a lot of setup mons, so that's something I had to work around. My screen's not loading for some reason. His team consists of Zygarde, Manaphy, Buzzwole, Mega Pidgeot, Ninetales Alolan, Bisharp, Roserade, Blaziken, Uxie, Vikavolt, Palossand, and Ursaring. Z moves belonging to Manaphy and Blaziken. So as again, a lot of his team is based off setup, so I have to find a way around that. So what I expect to come, I expect that either Zygarde or Manaphy, one of the two are definitely coming. I could see Mega Pidgeot coming. Uxie and Vikavolt are 100% coming because Vikavolt runs half of my team, and Uxie is just always good for like a Lopunny check or something like that. And I could see Ninetales coming because I know he loves his Veil. And that's kind of what I expect him to bring. But now that's his team. I'm going to go over my team real quick. First, I decided to bring Chandelure. Chandelure's max special attack, max speed, timid nature, to outspeed Buzzwole, moves being Flamethrower, Shadow Ball, Hidden Power, Ice, and Safeguard with Normalium Z. I originally had this as a Will-O-Wisp with a Cobra Berry to take on Bisharp fine, but I decided to, because Normalium Z Safeguard gives you +1 in speed, I decided to run that last second, so that was that. Next I have Hippowdon with Stealth Rock, Slack Off, Earthquake, and Whirlwind with Sandstream, max HP, max defense. I feel like this set would be good to handle his physical threats like Bisharp and Zygarde, especially Zygarde as well, because I don't see him being able to break this Hippowdon right away. And I can get up by rocks, which are pretty good against this team, especially that Vikavolt. So that's what that is for. Next we got a bulky Latias with Psychic, Toxic, Wish, and Protect with max HP, a lot of speed, and a little bit of special defense. This cannot touch a Bisharp, but this is pretty good for Wish passing. I did decide to bring a little more of a bulkier team this week. I wasn't really trying to, but with that Vikavolt running around, I needed something to take a hit, and I'll get into that a little later. So that is the Latias set. Next, we got our next physical offensive presence. We got Mega Lopunny with Frustration, Drain Punch, Ice Punch, and Heal Bell. Max Attack, Jolly Nature, 228 Speed, and the rest in bulk to, maximize EVs. Ice Punch is for the Zygarde, and Frustration and Drain Punch does really good work against this team. For the most part, there's a few mons I can switch in, like Uxie can switch in a Lopunny, but not many things really want to take a hit from this thing. Next, we got one of our pickups. We did drop Wormadam and Comfey for Silvally. I didn't want to do the trade. I wanted to keep Wormadam around, but I needed the extra point, so I had to do it. Starting Wormadam. But we got Silvally, and we were bringing Water Silvally with mostly max HP, a lot of special defense, and a bold nature. Moves being Surf, Parting Shot, Defog, and Roar. The reason I ran Surf over Multi-Attack is if he brought the Palossand, I did not want him getting up to like +6 with Multi-Attack and Waters and all that. I know he's got Bisharp with Defiant, but I can just Parting Shot out into Mega Lopunny, and Mega Lopunny can tank any hit, even if it is at +2. So there's that. And then lastly, we got Raikou. Raikou has an Assault Vest with max HP, a lot of speed, and a little bit of special defense like Latias. But it's got Wild Charge, Iron Head, HP Fire, and Volt Switch. The reason I did this was because Iron Head does a clean 70% to Ninetales, and Wild Charge is because Manaphy's got Z Rain Dance and Calm Mind. It can actually outlive Thunderbolts behind Veil. So I just had Wild Charge so I can guarantee a 2-KO on it. So that is the team for this week. It is very bulky, not really what I wanted to run, but it's what I had to run. I did have Toxapex in mind to bring, but I decided to drop it in the last few minutes, not a few minutes, but early on in the prep, I decided to drop Toxapex. So I didn't feel like it had the greatest matchup, and it could possibly be set up on by a few things. So that is a team, and now that was a really long team builder, and we're just going to go right into the battle. So now we can get into the battle. Again, thank you to Davian for recording this battle. He has a little more longer of an intro, so you get to look at his team. You can look at his team, and you can tell he did not bring the Alolan Ninetales, so I don't have to worry about Avail this week, which is pretty nice. He also did not bring the Mega Pidgeot, which kind of spams against my team, except for Raikou. So that was good. However, he did bring the Vigavolt, and he did bring the Uxie, so I kind of already know what they're going to do. As, of course, he actually leads up with the Vigavolt, so this is kind of a problem already. I have Hippowdon. I led because I wanted to get Sand up, just in case. Chip things down pretty early, and I wanted to get my Rocks up. But knowing that this Vigavolt has Energy Ball, and it has a good chance to OHKO me if it specs or any damage-boosting item, I decided I want to switch into Raikou. I want to scout out what this Vigavolt set's going to be like. Because if it's not a Choice Spec set or a Life Orb set, then I'm in a much better position. As he goes for the Energy Ball here, and you'll see the damage, and it does 62, 90. I'm not going to do the math there, but that is not Choice Specs damage, which is like, I'm so relieved to see. And thanks to the Sandstream, I can actually tell that this thing is leftovers. So knowing this, Raikou can definitely switch in on Vigavolt much easily now. As I'm just going to go for HP Fire, as I need chip damage on this Vigavolt, because nothing on my team besides Chandelure can really just like OHKO it or nuke it, and Chandelure doesn't really want to switch in on a Volt Switch or a Thunderbolt or anything like that. So here he decides to go into Colgate his Zygarde, which I actually had a Colgate toothpaste next to me during this battle, fun fact. But I cannot touch this thing whatsoever. I luckily do have a safe switching back into my Hippowdon, which is exactly what I'm going to do. So I switched back into Hippowdon. I could have also switched in Silvally, but I think Hippowdon was overall safer, as he does go for the substitute. So now I'm thinking, okay, he's not Choice Banded, he's not Scarfed or anything, and he has leftovers too. So I'm thinking this might be a bulky Zygarde. That's what I'm starting to think. So here, I'm going to make him think that I don't have the Whirlwind or Roar and get up my Rocks, because the Rocks are very important that chip down his team. I know he has Blaziken, and Blaziken was one of his 2 defoggers, so that kind of sucks, but Hippowdon can deal with Blaziken just fine. So I get to get my Rocks up, as he has the Toxic, which kind of shocked me. So he's got Sub-Toxic left over, so I'm thinking, if he has a setup move, he can't have like Outrage. He won't run Outrage. He'll run 1,000 arrows over Outrage every day because I have a Skarmory. But this turn I see he's got the Coil, so now I know he's got Sub-Toxic Coil, and I'm 99% sure his last move is 1,000 arrows. Luckily this turn I decided to go for the Whirlwind because I know Earthquake isn't going to break the sub, and there would be no point. So I just Whirlwind him out, which is pretty nice. And luckily he does come into the Blaziken, which is absolutely perfect for me. He will take some Rocks damage, and I will learn if he's got Defog. Sandstorm subsides, that's fine. A little leftovers recovery. However, the Toxic damage is starting to rack up a little bit on Hippowdon. I don't really want it to rack up too much. Considering I have Earthquake and he's got the free switch in the Vigavolt, I decide I'm just going to go into Silvally, because Silvally can equally check this Blaziken as well as Hippowdon can. And I can have, like, what was I going to say? I don't have to have the Toxic damage piled up. However, he does switch into Vigavolt to scout out for that Earthquake, which I guess I should have saw coming. Which kind of sucks, because, I mean, yeah, he takes 25% from Rocks, but I cannot stay in on this thing, risking a Thunderbolt, of course, because that'll just do too much damage. So I switch out into Raikou, because this is my dedicated switch-in, and my only switch-in to Vigavolt. And he does reveal to have the Roost, which is really annoying. So he's got Volt Switch, Energy Ball, and Roost. And I'm thinking to myself, it took me a minute to think about this, but I'm thinking, he might not have Bug Buzz, or he might not have Thunderbolt. I'm thinking, he probably doesn't have Thunderbolt and has Bug Buzz, so that makes switching around a little more easier. I know he's got a free switch in the Zygarde now, knowing he knows I have HP Fire now, but I just really want damage on this Vigavolt for later. It's really important, and he's just going to Volt Switch out. It's going to do absolutely nothing. He has yet to know that my Latias has Wish, so he's like, you know, he's wearing down my Raikou, so I can just wish up on that at some point. He switches into Blaziken, and I had a 50-50 shot of what was I going to switch in on here. I decided, I went for Volt Switch to see if he was Scarfed at first, and he is not Scarfed, so that's good. Now I'm thinking, Blaziken can often run Earthquake, and I can tank fighting move. So I'm just going to switch into Latias, as he does just go for the Earthquake, which is nice to know. He does switch out here, not wanting to take any hit. He doesn't have the knockoff, if that's what he's showing me. And he goes out to his Uxie, his Megamind, as he likes to nickname it. As I'm just going to go and throw up my Wish. Now, again, I'm not really happy that this team is a bulky team, but, you know, sometimes you just got to do the things you got to do. So now this gives me a free switch-in into Raikou, just to heal back up, because I know Uxie's not going to be offensive or anything. And if it wants to like set up a sub, I can wild charge it or Volt Switch or whatever. He just gets up his own rocks, which, you know, it's a little annoying. I'm going to have to defog at some point now because I do not want rocks on my side of the field. However, Raikou is now back up to full HP and can tank more hits, so that's pretty good. Here, I decided just to volt switch because I didn't really want to stay in on this thing, as I can just switch into something else. But since I do end up switching out to Silvally because I want to get rid of these rocks ASAP, as he does make a good move and goes for the Toxic. So now, since, you know, just like Raikou, Silvally does not have reliable recovery, so now I have to wish up into this too because it's going to be taking a lot of Toxic damage, and it took the rocks damage on entry. So yeah, that's kind of that. I don't really fear a Bisharp coming in because I can just switch back out into Lopunny and he won't attack me. I don't think, at least. I don't know. I'm just kind of rambling at this point because it's kind of stally here. As he does just go for the Psychics, and now he's got Psychic, Toxic, and Stealth Rock. I wasn't sure about his last move yet, but I'm thinking it's going to be Memento because I know he loves running Memento on Uxie just to have one of his many setup mons set up, basically. So he switches out here and goes out into Blaziken. So that was good on him. I don't want Toxic damage racking up, so I decided to Parting Shot out, which is fine because I do have a free switch into Hippowdon. However, Blaziken's at half HP now, so I decided to go on the offensive here. I didn't want to bring in Lopunny, so my other offensive mon, which is Chandelure, comes in. And on my calc, since rocks aren't up either, my calc, I'm doing 60 to 70% to this Blaziken. So he stays in, I'm just like, oh, this thing's dead. And it turns out the Blaziken lives, and that is very annoying because it ended up being Assault Vest Blaziken, and I was not ready for that. And I took so much unnecessary damage from Earthquake. If I ended up like just thinking about Assault Vest for a minute, I do end up just knocking this thing out now. So if I have more control of the rocks, well, he won't have defog in the first place, so he's Assault Vest. But now my Chandelure is really low, and Chandelure is really important for this team. So there's that. Now he's got Bisharp coming out. I thinking he might go for Sucker Punch or he might set up a Swords Dance. Regardless, Silvally's a pretty good switch in overall to this Bisharp. As he just sets up the Swords Dance, I could have easily Flamethrowed this thing and it would have died. But I didn't want to risk the Chandelure because Chandelure is very vital to this team, as it can actually come in on rocks one more time. So that's good. He is just going for the Sucker Punch here, and it actually kills me, believe it or not. So that kind of sucks. I have Surf on this thing, as I said in the team builder, and Surf would have done around half HP. He does have the Life Orb though, so that's good to know. He's probably Adamant, Life Orb, Sucker Punch, Swords Dance. I'm going to set up Mega Lopunny here because this is a free offensive pressure. I can offensively pressure his team now, as I'm expecting an Uxie switch in, but I just can't risk going for Frustration because if he stays in, then it's a 2-ko basically, I think. Or it's a good chance to 2-ko. If he goes for Iron Head for whatever reason, expecting me to overpredict, because I've overpredicted and it cost me before, like in my week 3 battle. Anyway, I just go for the Drain Punch. It's not going to do much to Uxie. I knew this Uxie was going to be the main Lopunny counter from the start, and it actually turns out to be Rocky Helmet. So good in the sense that Uxie can't really heal up, but bad in the sense that Lopunny's taking more chip damage now. I'm going to switch into Latias, just take the Psychic move, and he does good for Psychic. So there's that. Sorry about that. I don't have a drink with me. But yeah, we're running down his team pretty well. His Uxie's getting kind of low. Blaziken's gone. Vigavolt, he hasn't really been playing around with Vigavolt too much. Same with the Zygarde. He hasn't really brought on the Zygarde on a number of opportunities I could have done that on. But anyway, I double back into Hippowdon just, you know, to tank Toxic, because I know he's going to go for the Toxic. And I can chip this thing down more with Sandstream. I know I can't physically touch this thing with Earthquake, but, you know. It does suck because it does give him the free rocks opportunity, but that's fine because I don't really mind since Chandelure can still come in one more time on Stealth Rock, so that's that. So he's going to get him up, so I have to be really careful with my Chandelure now, as I'm just going to go for my own rocks to get them on his side of the field so that Vigavolt can't come in for free most likely. So yeah, now he's going to take more Sandstorm damage. He's under half, which is pretty nice. I'm going to take a little more damage from Poison too, so there's that. Chip, sorry. I have some Discord messages I should check after this. So here, I'm going to switch back out again, because I'm being a pain in the ass. I'm going to switch out back into Latias, and I'm going to take some rocks damage, which is fine. He's probably just going to go for the Psychic, which he ends up doing. I'm going to take some chip from the sand, but he's going to take some chip from the sand. And this gives me a pretty good opportunity to get a Wish up, because my team kind of needs it now. Well, particularly this Latias kind of needs a Wish. But Chandelure wouldn't mind taking a Wish either. I don't really want to switch in Chandelure on a Psychic though, because obviously it will die, Rocks plus Psychic. So I would have to try and catch it on a turn where Uxie's not going for psychics or anything, because he could easily just spam psychic down to until he gets really low. Which I'm thinking he has memento, because he really likes to run memento on his team. So that's kind of what I'm thinking at this point. I just want this Uxie dead so Megalophony can kind of start running house on his team, because this is basically his only check left to Lophony. Manaphy sort of is, but not really. As this turn, he finally does reveal the memento, and he's going to take himself out. The good thing about this is that, again, Megalophony can now start to do more work against his team, but the bad thing is now he can actually bring in his Bisharp, and his Bisharp can just set up a Swords Dance, because I cannot even touch this Bisharp whatsoever. I catch my own wish, which is fine, get more healed up, Toxic Stun to rack up, and, you know, nothing surprising, jeez, I can't talk, that Bisharp does end up coming in. I'm going to have to switch out here. I have to go into my dedicated Hippowdon switching, which I end up doing, as he's going to set up a Swords Dance. What he's going to do, like, come on, there's nothing else he's going to do. He knows I can't hit him at this point with my Psychic, Toxic, Wish, Protect set. So he does set up a Swords Dance here. Now, in this game, I made a few misplays, and, you know, hence, I'm going to foreshadow here in a second. I had a decision here that he knows his Bisharp's pretty important for him. I mean, I don't know, I thought it was at least, but I'm thinking he's not going to want to stay in and take this Earthquake, because if I Earthquake, he dies. And of course, what do you know, he goes for the knockoff, and I actually went for the Whirlwind this turn, thinking he wasn't going to stay in, and so I can just chip around things with rocks. But now that Hippowdon can't even take a hit from Bisharp anymore, granted, now Vigavolt's in, and it just takes a round of rocks, which is pretty nice, but both my switch-ins to Bisharp are gone now. So we're kind of in a rough spot now, and Sucker Punch is just really strong. The only thing Sucker Punch, basically I lose unless Megalophony can get in on Bisharp basically for free. So back out, Megalophony is out here now. Vigavolt at a low enough health where I can just O-Coat Frustration. Bisharp doesn't want to come in on a Frustration on the Drain Punch, so he's just going to have to let this thing die. Manaphy does nothing, wants to take a Frustration, so he's going to let his Vigavolt go down, which is fine. I kind of wish something else went down, but, you know, more the merrier. I'm going to take some chip damage, which is really annoying. He finally brings out his Manaphy here, and I'm scared of this thing because I don't know what this thing is at this point. He could be Z Rain Dance. I'm thinking he's probably just Water EMZ, like Scald or something like that. I'm going to switch into Raikou because Raikou can tank any Z move this thing wants to throw. I don't think it's going to use a Z like move right away, but I think it might set up at first. But however, he does just go straight for the Z move, so, you know. And it turns out he is actually Psyche MZ. That definitely would have nuked my Megalophony and thrown it into the next dimension. So I'm really glad I switched out there. Latias probably would have been a better switch-in, but I think Raikou could have just tanked hits overall better. And I didn't want to risk like an Ice Beam or anything, because Manaphy can't hit Raikou super effectively, but it can hit Latias if it goes for the right move. Obviously, again, Psyche MZ though, Latias would have been better. Anyway, I can just offensively pressure this thing, but I'm thinking in this turn, he's going to want to switch into Zygarde. So I can double out into Latias to pressure that thing with Psychic. And now he makes the play of the absolute century, and he does switch out, but it's not into Zygarde. He switches into the Bisharp, and I was so confused with this play because I'm thinking this Bisharp can win him the game. If I would have just clicked any electric move, he just would have died. So, I mean, it worked out for him in the end, so I can't blame him for that. So props to him. Again, now he's in the same position again. He can just Swords Dance and Sucker Punch my team. So at this point, I'm gonna play his. I'm just gonna send out Raikou and just sack that off because I can figure another way out to deal with that Manaphy, since Manaphy has burned the Psyche MZ, and now I know it's not a Z Rain Dance or Z Rain Dance set, and I don't think it's going to be a Calm Mind set at this point. It might just be like, I don't know, Tail Glow, Scald, Psychic, insert fourth move. I don't know. But he just kills my Raikou. Now, here's another misplay I make. I don't really think it's a misplay at the time, and if you're in the context of the battle, I don't think it would be really hard to notice. But I calc something wrong on my calc, thinking Megalophony is at 62%, and I would take 8% from rocks, and then I would be basically KO'd by Sucker Punch. So I basically thought I lost the game. However, I only take 4% from rocks, I think. Or I take a little less than I thought, and I was just like, oh, well, I have a really good chance of living this Sucker Punch. And it turns out here, it's a roll, but it's a roll in my favor, and I actually do live. And I'm just like, oh, well, damn, that sucks. So I end up Drain Punching this Bisharp, and this Bisharp actually dies, which is really nice. And Lophony can get up to a little more health, so I can switch in back to Stealth Rocks again. Problem is now that Chandelure is dead, so Lopunny is my only offensive presence left. He's only got Manaphy and Zygarde, but knowing from earlier, Zygarde's pretty bulky, so we're going to have some problems. So I only have Lopunny and Latias. I decide this Manaphy is probably not in frustration range. I'm going to go into Latias. He's going to probably go for like Scald or Psychic, probably Psychic. As he goes for the Psychic, it's going to do nothing. I'm very especially bulky, so I can tank any Scald or Psychic again, obviously. So I'm just going to try and chip this Manaphy down to put it in range of frustration. And then it'll just come down to Lopunny and Zygarde, since I do have the Ice Punch on my Mega Lopunny. This turn he throws an Ice Beam at me. I'm just like, oh shit, he actually does have the Ice Beam. And what do you know? We live on 3 health, which is really epic because I can get off the Psychic, giving me the necessary chip damage to make sure my frustration can take out this Manaphy. And I know this Manaphy is pretty offensive, so frustration probably still had a chance to kill anyway. But with this, it guarantees the kill. So now, it's down to my Mega Lopunny. Mega Lopunny, the absolute GOAT, is going to knock out this Manaphy most likely. Is going to knock out this Manaphy, because if he switches in Zygarde, that's just a sack at that point. So, down goes Manaphy, and it comes down to if I can kill this Zygarde with Ice Punch. A normal Zygarde would die to Ice Punch, but again, from earlier, he showed that he was a very bulky Zygarde, probably like max HP, probably a lot of defense or something like that. And he's got a lot of health, too. He's down to like maybe 86%. And he did a calc, and I confirmed it in the end that this Ice Punch has like a 6% chance to kill. And we don't kill, so, you know, the Hex God weren't in our favor, and we're at low enough HP, so this 1,000 arrows is going to kill. So that is a GG to A Aeron. This game came down to the last turn. I'm very hyped about it. Technically, it was kind of a choke, because if I had done that exact same sequence, but let Chandelure live and just came in the Mega Lopunny first, Chandelure could have came in there at the end. It would have been faster, because he was a very bulky set, and I had HP Ice, or Shadow Ball would have killed at that point. So, kind of a choke, but it wasn't like a noticeable choke on my end. But nonetheless, GG to A Aeron. He played really well. I thought I played pretty well. We've gotten down to 2 losses now, so that kind of sucks. But we're 5-3. I know Just Kurt, who took over for Pokemaster Mike, is starting to catch up to us in the division. So that's kind of scary. But, you know, make sure to go check out all the coaches in the description below. As always, next week we face Poise and his Detroit Littens. He is trying to get back into the competitive league, so make sure you go look out for that. I'd like to thank you all for watching. I'm sorry I've been rambling a lot, so thanks to you. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you in the next one. Have a fantastic day.